Hey everyone, so my name is Leon, and today we're going to be doing another tier ranking list. This time we're going to be talking about one of my favorite shows of all time, Big Brother. We're going to be doing a North American Big Brother winners rankings for the Big Brother US, which you can watch on CBS, and Big Brother Canada, which you can watch on Global for the Canadians out there. So yeah, we have all the Big Brother US and Canadian winners up to this point. As of this video, Big Brother 23 is currently airing right now, and Big Brother Canada 10 hasn't been started yet. So yeah, with that being said, let's just jump right into it. So I have a list of how I will rank each winner. So I have five rankings, unlike in the Survivor where I had six rankings. So I decided to take out the good tier and decided to just go top tier, high tier, mid tier, low tier, and bottom tier. I feel like good tier between the mid and high tier that kind of forced me to be more you know to be more convincing in terms of like where I want to put the winners at. So instead of them just calling them like good, I can either decide to put them more lower like mid tier or put them more higher like high tier. So I think five ranking list is fine to me. So yeah, with that being said, let's just jump right into it. Jump in knee first. Anyways, so I'm gonna start by ranking the U.S. winners, and then I'm gonna go rank the Canadian winners at towards the end of the video. So if you want, you can skip towards the end if you want to just see where I put the Canadian winners. So I'm just gonna talk briefly into each winner and put them where I put them. So we're gonna talk about Eddie from Big Brother season one. I put him at the bottom tier. I didn't really watch much of that season, and it was more of a different game, more popularity contest. So he'll be in the bottom tier. He didn't really do anything, as far as I've read online, and anything to make him a winner other than getting the vote from America. So no point of talking about him. So how I'm gonna explain the rankings, I'm gonna go by each season instead of how my list is. I'm gonna go by each season and then organize it where I will put them. So Dr. Will, which is Big Brother season two winner, obviously he's top tier. He's not in my opinion, the best Big Brother winner of all time, but he's top five at least for me. In my recent list, I have him number four, but I think because of a recent Big Brother winner, he might be bumped out to number five. But we can come back to it later. So, but Dr. Will's pretty high up there for me, so he's gonna just stay there for now. All right. So, yep, here we go. Lisa from season three, she's gonna be mid tier. She's done a good job by maneuvering through the game, played the middle. She was in a six-person alliance and had because of the twist, one of her linesmen that was able to vote out was able to come back in, and she decided to not put that person back into the game. I think that's smart of her to do because she was able to decrease her threat level and make sure that she was able to be a player that players like Jason and Danielle can pick up and use to better their games. In actuality, she had the jury votes to win the game. So I put Lisa pretty in mid tier because she didn't have much control of the game as other people. So she's gonna be mid tier for now. With June season four. For now, where she? Yep, she's gonna be low tier only because the only winning scenario was to me. Her only winning scenario to me was sitting next to Allison. Yeah, she did some stuff strategically smart, but I feel like she was at risk of going home or being dragged to the end and become the final two losers. So she did a good job aligning with the Three Stooges, who they didn't have the numbers. Did start winning some comps, and her ex G was a pretty good comp beast in the middle of the season, so she had a relationship there. She did okay, but I cannot put her in mid tier because there was no way she was being somebody like she was not gonna beat Erica in the final two. Was not being Jack in the final two. There were some players in the jury that most of them she was not gonna beat. So got put this long. Now move on to season five. Drew, I put Drew. I put Drew in the high tier. He was part of the initial Four Horsemen lines, and then when two of the main figures of the Four Horsemen lines got taken out, he was able to blend into the back to the house and was able to use his triple threat ability, the physical comps, the social, and the strategic. He's decently strategic to get himself to the end game next to Cowboy, who is somebody that he could easily beat in the end, and had the willingness and ability to decide to just cut Diana at the end instead of taking her. And I feel like if he takes Diane, he might have lost the game, just the same way he beat Cowboy. Might have been a 4-3 in a loss. So good thing he was able to cut Diane, recognize that. So good job by him and very good triple threat. All right, so let's move on to Maggie, who's also in the high tier. I'm gonna put her ahead of Drew for now because she was the main figurehead of the Friendship Alliance, which season 6, by the way, was one of my favorite seasons. Basically, the first season I watched the Big Brother ever before going back to watch the previous seasons. I didn't really like her lines, but they did dominate the game. They played well, and you can't argue her dominance in that and her role in that. As soon as her main partners in the partner twist, Eric, got taken out, she became the leader of the alliance and was able to convince Yvette to not take her out in final 3 and instead take out Janelle. I think she beats both of them anyways, Yvette and Janelle, and the fact that she had the numbers to go away and she was able to convince Howie to turn on his own alliance in Solomon 6 after Case was taken out. So I'm proud of Maggie's game. Not my favorite player, but Maggie did play well. And then, speaking of the next season, and speaking of Janelle, we're going to talk about Mike Boogie here, who I have at the top of the high tier. I don't put him on top tier. Okay, I gotta put him here then. Okay, I guess I gotta put Maggie here. Okay, guess it's not moving. Alright, there we go. Alright, yeah, Mike Boogie's ahead of Maggie for me. I think Mike Boogie did a great job at, positioning himself throughout the All-Star season. And he was technically, in his first season, the first A-choice ever. And in Big Brother 14, he did a good job at getting the numbers and wasn't really a target yet until the final week pre-jury. But that's because he was playing next to Frank, and Frank wanted to beat him, and then he was the next biggest target. So Mike Boogie overall is a good game player, knows his optimal movers, knows how to play a kind of dominating game. In his earlier seasons, you could say he was better socially. And Big Brother 14, he was too big of a threat to be good socially, and people probably found him as annoying in his latest season run. And unfortunately, him and Dr. Will don't talk no more. But Mike Boogie is an overall good player, and being the first HOH in his first season 2, and his ability, he has a kind of ability to be a triple threat, but not in his later seasons, but his earlier seasons. So I give him that much credit, and he was able to win due to his using Dr. Will as a meat shield, and having his life, Dr. Will really helped him there. But he's a good player, so I'll give him credit there. Now, Evil Dick, he is a mid-tier winner. Where is that? Do I put him above Lisa? Did I put him above Lisa? Oh, yes, I did. Okay. See, here's the thing about Evil Dick, aka Richard. He's a good Big Brother player. People say that America's player helped him. I disagree, because that week he won the power veto. He was able to save his daughter Danielle from the block. And if yes, you say his daughter Danielle, that would have been a game ended move for him. But America's player saved him. So if Danielle wasn't in the game, it was like anybody else sitting next to him in the block that week, he wins the veto and he stays anyway. So I mean, Evil Dick's a low key comp beast and good strategically, very good strategically, very underrated on a strategical level. Socially, he works well with certain types of people, and physically he can win the comp. So I mean, come on now, Evil Dick, he's a mid-tier winner. He's not a top-tier winner because I feel like his personality does rub some people the wrong way. I enjoy watching Evil Dick. Evil Dick's very entertaining to me, so it's a little different for me. I would love to line with him if I was in the house. But yeah, he's somebody that very entertainment and knows how to play the game, very suited of the game. I'll put him mid-tier winner for now. Season 9, where is Adam? Okay. Adam I put between Evil Dick and Lisa, another mid-tier winner. Okay, guess I can put Lisa here. He knows how to position himself. He positions himself in the middle, yet he has a side he was working with, but able to get favor from both sides, so nobody really targeted him. And he was able to use Brian as a meat shield, and he was able to get the favor from the majority jury to vote for him. And I think he's a solid Big Brother player. He's like your average Big Brother player. Unfortunately, he had the thing after the season. He recovered from that, but I think he's good socially. Strategically, he's okay. Physically, he can win the comps, depending on the comp. So I put Adam there. And now, season 10, Dan freaking Giesland is going to be, he's the best winner. I think he's the best Big Brother winner of all time. No cap. I think he's really good at the game. He knows how to work from every position. And yeah, it sucks that he didn't win Big Brother 14. But still, he could have been two-time winner. He played really good. I think his mistake, to be honest with you, he should have took Mike Boogie to the end, because if it was him and Mike, if he was able to save Mike Boogie before, like not let Mike Boogie go pre-jury, and was able to either carry Mike Boogie to the final two, or at least let Mike Boogie go to jury, Mike Boogie would have been probably an advocate of Dan's game, and Mike Boogie and Dan, but the two winners at the end. There's no way that they have to vote for somebody, so I'm sure they'll vote for Dan or Mike Boogie. But Dan that season was magnificent. Big Brother 14, Big Brother 10, he played extremely well, and he was able to maneuver the game from all angles. So best Big Brother player of all time, no doubt. All right, season 11, Jordan Lloyd, one of my favorite players. I had to put in the bottom tier though. Like, I'm sorry. Like, she played a solid game overall, but I just think without Jeff's presence in the season, I don't know if she gets that far. One, two, I think socially is her social game is her best asset. Strategically and physically, she's probably below average. Not a bad person, good player, but I think she's good enough to get by on her social ability, and maybe can always a player that can get by the jury phase of the game. As you saw in the second time round, she got to the final four in Big Brother 13 where Rachel won. So you gotta give her credit there. Just everything else is not good. Just socially, she's good. Anyways, moving on. Now Big Brother 12, Hayden. I have Hayden very high. He's a top tier winner for me. Do I put him above? Yep, I'm gonna put him above Dr. Will. Yeah, I did it. The difference between him and Dr. Will is great socially, great strategically. Physically, he's not there. Hayden is a triple threat, an extreme triple threat. He can be tall, and he's an intimidating presence, like in terms of like a physical threat, like somebody who can win challenges, somebody who you could be a target. But Hayden's social ability and the strategical aspect line with the right guys and the right people, and you can see that in the Survivor game too. In Survivor Bloodlust Water, he made it to, I think, final five, right, or final six, whatever it was. He's an ultimate triple threat. He's somebody that can naturally is gonna get far in the game, even if he doesn't win. So I think Hayden is, to me, a better overall player than Will. Will's probably a better, like, had a better probably winning game, because Hayden did have some help from the brigade, and Will kind of played by himself from after Mike Boogie was evicted, or Shannon was evicted in season 2. And season 7, it was just him and Mike Boogie. Yeah, they have allies, but he didn't win that season. So Hayden had help, Will didn't. So maybe I'll put Will above Hayden from that aspect. But how I rank the winners too is I rank the overall games into the various seasons, and I rank them based on how do I think they will win, how many times out of 10. So we got to put Hayden above Will here. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I'm sorry. Anyways, move on to Rachel Riley. I have her as a mid-tier winner, and if I'm checking she's just below Evil Dick, but ahead of Adam. Here's why. Strategically, very good. In fact, she's underrated. Physically, very good. Can win the comps. Socially, needs some work, but I think she's probably likable outside the game Big Brother. But inside the game Big Brother, because of the way how she plays, it probably annoys some people, as you saw in the Big Brother 12 and 13 games. So I'm not gonna lie, even I found that some of the stuff she did was annoying. So I have to give credit's due though. Rachel was able to get to the end, was able to get the win, and was able to convince people not to take her out. And I think the best thing she did in Big Brother 13 is use her reputation as an annoying presence to her advantage, to where people thought they could beat her and dragged her to the end, and she was able to win out the comp she needed to win. So she could take someone like Porsche, who has a reputation of not being able to do anything in the game, and was able to be a clear winner. And also had a lot of friends in jury too, like Jeff and Jordan and Brandon, obviously. So that's not my favorite season. It's actually Big Brother 13 is one of my least favorite seasons, but I also look at her Big Brother 12 game. She made jury. She's very, like I said, socially, physically, strategically, pretty good and pretty underrated. So there we go with Rachel. Season 14 now. Ian. What do I put Ian? I put Ian. Yep. I put Ian above Evil Dick. He's a very high mid-tier winner for me. Had a, pretty good strategically, very good strategically, was able to attach himself to the right people in both his seasons. I just feel like his second season, because he was a winner and because of all the scenarios that happened, all the three or the four targets ahead of him were able to get powers or twists or vetoes used on them to escape being a target. And unfortunately, he was the next in line. He was like the fourth person targeted that week because David had the power to save himself. Devon and Kevin. Devon used his Habito and Kevin, so that's your second and third option as target's gone. And then Tyler, he was targeted by Danielle. He was in target of that alliance. It was Ian. Ian was more expendable. So there we go. And his first season, when he aligned himself with Dan and Brittany, he was able to lower his threat level, become the little brother kind of a little bit, and was able to win the comps out and comp out when he needed to, and was able to put himself in a position Final Four where it was him, Dan, and a duo, basically, Shane and Danielle. Dan had to get rid of the duo or split that up before, you let Ian go, because if he let Ian go, then he had to rely on Danielle to win, and what if Danielle takes Shane and Dan had to win out, and then that wouldn't work well for Dan. So, Ian, good job. I think I give Ian more credit than some other people do. And yeah, he beat Dan, oh my god, but he's just a mid tier. He's not high tier, he's not low tier. He's just in the middle to me. Big Brother 15. Like I said, we had the first Canadian winner, Jillian, but we're gonna get to all the Canadian winners at the end of the video. So, anyways, let's get to Andy. I put Andy in the, where did I put Andy? Oh yeah, there goes Andy. I put him in a high tier because he did have a good game. Big Brother 15. He did do well. He did a good job being very good socially. Using Helen and Alyssa and Amanda as his meat shields at people who appeared to run the game, where he had some say, but he was running it from the background. I give him credit there. However, I just think from a physical standpoint, if he was somebody the next target, he's pretty good socially that season, so no one would target him right away. But if he needed to win the comp, or else he would have been voted out, I don't think he has the ability to do that. Strategically, pretty good. Socially, pretty good. It's just from the comp winning standpoint, maybe he can win the mental comps, but the physical comps, I'm not sure his ability. Also, too, I feel like the game he played doesn't work on every season because you're not gonna always having Helen, Alyssa. Alyssa, that's the name, right? Helen, Alyssa, and Amanda type figures, like three big personalities. Well, not even Helen's not a big personality, but three figureheads that were running the game from the early parts of the game. Like usually it's just one or two. So let's say him on a Big Brother 20 cast, will he be able to do the same things? Possibly. Maybe it could be like a JC like figure, but even then, that's difficult to pull off. Like Big Brother 21. Big Brother 21, does he last long? Big Brother 19, can his game work on multiple seasons? I'm not sure. But he's a pretty good player. I think he still gets to the jury. He still gets to close to the end game most times, but he did a good job. I just not confident if his game is repeatable, in my opinion. So, moving on to Derek, who is another top tier winner. Somehow who I see also as a triple threat. He's the second best Big Brother player of all time. I like his winning game. He was able to dominate from the top up and be one of the figureheads to do it. People looked at Derek and they didn't really, only Donnie. Donnie was the only person that said, okay, we need Derek out of here. Everybody else didn't caught on to what Derek was doing. They all loved Derek. There was Goo Goo Gaga with him. They loved him as a person, and he did everything in front and behind the scenes. Taking out Devin in week 3 gained a lot of favor when the house with him because he got out a clear house target, and it made him to go in the background and work on his relationships with the Frankies, the Caleb's of the world, and especially his relationship with Cody, who we'll get to later. But Derek, someone that can dominate from the top of the game and was able to get to the end game with really little to no pushback and had relationships outside of his lines with the Victorias of the world, was able to get him to get far. I think the only difference between him and Dan is Dan was able to dominate and was able to work from the bottom where Dan didn't have the numbers and was able to maneuver out of that. We haven't seen Derek do that yet, maybe on the return, but I don't know if it'll work out well for Derek. So maybe unless it's like an all-star season with a bunch of, winners and a bunch of legends in the season, then I don't think Derek should play because I think he'll be a number one target. And whew, they'll take him out. But Derek, second best player of all time. No really flaws in his game. Can play from any position. And yeah, that's all. Big Brother 17 now. We can get to Steve Moses. I put Steve pretty low, actually. He's in the bottom low tier. And here's why. I look at his week 1 thing where if he didn't win the Beetle, he could have went home. It's kind of similar. Him and Ian are kind of similar winners, but I think Steve had to rely more on Johnny and Mac and Vanessa, where Ian was able to win back and back. You know what I mean? So it's a little similar, and I feel like Vanessa was such a... Yes, there was Dan Giesling, there was Frank, and Dan's the best player of all time and best winner of the time, but I feel like Steve relied more on the people outside of himself, where Ian kind of took some control in terms of like he won the comms. Ian intentionally hit himself with the right people and lines of the right people, whereas I feel like Steve kind of didn't. Like I feel like Vanessa and John were more forced to work with him because he was a number that wasn't with the other side, whereas I feel like Ian chose to work with him and Steve didn't. I don't know. That's my perspective of it, but I still think Steve did a good job. But if let's say in Final Five and Austin and Johnny Mac, and Johnny Mac didn't come back and help, right? If Johnny Mac didn't come back after he was evicted, I don't even think Steve can make it past Final 6 or Final 5. I think Steve would have been gone initially. So I don't know. So yeah, I have my critiques about Steve's game. Good winner though. Anyways, moving on to, I guess we're talking about big but over top winner, Morgan. I have Morgan just above June in low tier. She did a good job winning the popularity vote. She wasn't the biggest threat or biggest target. She was either the second or third biggest target. She played with her sister Alex that season. Alex was, in my opinion, the better player. Alex Willett, I think. Yeah, that's the name. Pretty good. And they had, it was the alliance with Monty, Shane, and I think Whitney, and I forgot this other. I think the lady that played with Jason Roy. She was also aligned with Jason Roy. There was another lady in the alliance, but they had a good alliance. She was a good physical threat. Can be good socially and physically, strategically. I'm not sure, but she played with enough of the people in the game to where she wasn't the biggest threat, and she did a good job managing her threat level, making sure that she made sure that she wasn't the biggest target out there for the other side. When they did target people, they targeted Alex, they targeted people like Scott, who was also a number in her initial lines, or Scotty, or I think it was Scott. I forget the guy's name, but either way, somebody who's a good player, pretty good, can go decently far in the average season, Big Brother season. So I'm gonna give her credit, but low tier winner for me. Now we're gonna get to Big Brother 18, Nicole. I'm gonna put her. This is controversial, and I don't care. She's gonna be in top tier. The stats speak for itself. I know a lot of people aren't fans of Nicole. It is what it is. The stats speaks for itself. In the first season, Superfan was able to get to close to the mid-jury, almost to the end game. If there wasn't a bomb squad dead in his lines, I think she gets to where she finishes the All-Stars, maybe Final 4 or Final 3. It's pretty knowledgeable of the game. Kind of a low-key triple threat, decent physically, good socially enough, and strategically pretty solid strategically. And you can criticize how she plays the game. She always needs to play with Corey or with what's his guy's name, Hayden in the first season, or with the other like Cody. We'll get to Cody in a moment. And then we had to criticize how she plays the game, but you can't criticize it. She knew what her strengths were, and she attached herself to somebody who can cover up for her weaknesses in the game. So I think Nicole Franzel's a pretty good player of Big Brother, and she won't be coming back at the All-Stars, I don't think. Maybe she will. Who knows? But now she's in different phase of her life, so I wish her luck, and I'm gonna give her props. She's probably low end of the top tier, but she's pretty good player. People gotta give her some respect on that. Moving on to Big Brother 19, we're gonna go with Josh Martinez. Where do I have Josh? Oh, I have him behind June. I think what he did was good. It's just goodbye messages. And I'm sorry he's in a low tier. He's not a bad person. Pretty nice person. As a game player, if it was a different season, I don't think he wins. I think he gets taken out pretty early in the game, or he gets taken as a GOAT, and people was like, oh, nah, we're not voting for him. But I feel like because he sat next to someone like Paul, who pissed off everybody in the house and was trying to just be foul about it. No offense, I love Paul as a person, good game player, but yeah, Josh is somebody who was able to recognize how big of a threat Paul was and knew what Paul was doing, and in his goodbye messages explained what was really going on. And it also helped that he was genuine to himself. He called up people in their BS, kind of similar to Evil Dick. But I'm not gonna lie to you, that kind of gameplay can get you in trouble if you're not attached with allies that can help you get through that. Yeah, even you can see it in the challenge where he aligns himself with KC, and later on, I think Fessy, and now Amber B, who's on Big Brother 16, he aligns himself with people like that. So people who were able to back him up and to keep him calm and to protect him when he's really in danger of being eliminated or going to elimination rounds. But challenge is a different show. But you can see some of that in his Big Brother game as well. He had Paul, he had Christmas, he had other people like Jason, Alex before they got targeted, and pretty much everybody, they was okay with him. They knew he was annoying, but they was willing to protect him because they was like, okay, cool, he can't beat us. And I think that's a good thing about Josh. He knew how to manage his threat well. He knew who he was as a person and used his strengths and weaknesses to better his game. So I give Josh credit, but I can't put him above where I have him right now. Now a Big Brother 20, Casey Clark. I put Casey at the bottom of the high tier next to Andy, and that's because she's pretty good socially. I think she's good enough. Physically, she's amazing physically. Can win comps, any comp, anytime. She's pretty good all-around comp beast. I think she won 6 straight comps, something like that, or she won 7. She almost tied the record. And then physically, strategically, I think she has a strategic insight on how to play the game well. But with someone like Tyler around, she didn't have to go that deep in her strategic aspect. She knew that Tyler was loyal to her and kind of sit in the background, let Tyler do all the work, which is fine, you know what I mean? And she had the physical ability to win the comps when she needed to, when she was about to be targeted. So I give her credit. Yes, she barely won, and Tyler's a better player. In my opinion, Tyler should have been the winner. You gotta give Casey credit, especially her ability to win the comps. I just feel like strategically we haven't seen her strategic potential yet. Even the challenge too, she kind of plays similarly, where she just hides in the background and lets other people do the strategic, like the Joshes of the world. So it sucks that she and Josh couldn't be on All Stars, but it is what it is. I am confident in Casey's ability, and even on the return, to still go far. Yep, that's all. Moving on to Big Brother 21. Actually, before I do that, let's go to Celebrity Big Brother 1. And where's Marissa? Marissa, Celebrity Big Brother 1, sat next to Ross and N. I think I'm not a fan of her winning game. She did a good job socially, but strategically and physically, in terms of winning the challenges, she probably won 1 or 2. I'm not a fan of it. I think she could have been a better player, but she sat next to somebody like Ross, who was a pretty good, dominant player, good strategically, and a low-key triple threat on his end. So Marissa just out socially was better than Ross, but I'm not a fan of her winning game outside of that. Let's move on. And Tamar Braxton, who actually I'm going to put, this is going to be controversial. Yes, he's at the high tier for me. She's a super fan. She knew how to maneuver through the game. I think being a super fan, if you know how to maneuver through the game because you know what the show's about, I think as long as you don't overplay like Frenchie, no offense Frenchie, as long as you don't overplay like Frenchie does, I think you can either get far or win the game. I think Tamar did a good job in her. She's the winner Celebrity Big Brother too, by the way. I think she did a good job at recognizing who to align with, and she did a good job of targeting the right people at the right time. She did a good job convincing the comp threat at that season. I think Ricky Williams, that's his name, convincing him to take her to end over Lolo Jones. She had a pretty good social game. Strategically, she was pretty solid, and physically, she's underrated in that. I feel like because she was playing next to the Toms and the Ricky Williams, she could really go on a comp run, but I think she's physically fit enough to do it. I think, if the scenario needs to happen. So I think Tamar is a pretty high tier winner for me, and that's kind of ridiculous to say, but I really like Tamar's game. I enjoyed it, and I think if she put in a non-Big Brother season, I think she's likable enough to survive the early part of the game, and she's aware of the show enough to know who to line with and to get through at least through mid-jury. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Tamar's game. And now we get to Big Brother 21, which is Jackson. And where do I have Jackson? I have him in between Lisa and Adam. I think so, Lisa and Adam. Yeah. And the reason I have him mid tier because he's a triple threat too. Socially, he works well with certain types of people. Physically, pretty good physically. He won a lot of comps that season. Strategically, pretty underrated strategically, especially the move he did on Tommy that season to convince Nicole and Cliff get rid of Tommy. Even though Nicole knew Jackson was lying, but the fact that she could convince Cliff to keep Tommy, I think Jackson did a pretty good job that season in terms of that stuff. Yeah, there's horrible stuff about him outside of that, and it is what it is, but I'm not focused on the stuff with Jackson outside the game. I'm focused on the stuff that he does inside the game, and I think inside the game he's a pretty solid Big Brother player, and I think in the Big Brother 21 cast he does very well, but kind of like with the Andy, I feel like with a certain cast, like a Big Brother 19, I don't think he'll do well in. Like it'll be like kind of Cody Nicholson base. Like he'll be targeted pretty early, and especially someone like Paul. Someone like Paul would not mesh well with someone like Jackson. So yeah, that's my opinion. Moving on. Big Brother 22 now. Now we get to Cody Kaffir, Derek's partner, and I had this ranking before Big Brother 22 ended. So what I'm going to do is I put Cody in front of Hayden. Yeah, she's in top tier for me. He was ready to get second place in his first season round, playing alongside Derek. Final two, right? It's final two right here. And he had no knowledge of the game. He came back. You could call pregame, whatever, but I think he did a pretty good job aligning himself with the right people, the Tylers, the Memphises, Nicole's, Danny's, and even, Enzo, Devon, and Bailey. He aligned himself with a good amount of people in the house that had the ability to win comps. And even the people outside of that alliance, like the Kevins, the Nicole A's, yeah, they knew he was a threat, but they couldn't do anything to target him because they didn't have the numbers. And you could say Kesa probably the only one that wanted to get rid of him, but Kesa had no power, and he recognized that Kesa was going to turn on him anyway, so he got Kesa out as soon as he could. So I'm giving Cody credit here. I think he's the third best player of all time. Stats speaks for itself. And I'll put Nicole a little higher, but Nicole went out mid-jury, Big Brother 16. So, and she's a super fan, and Cody got to the final two, and Cody knew nothing about the game. So, you gotta deduct points for Nicole and give points to Cody that one. Anyways, I think that's all the Big Brother US winners. Let's talk about the Canadian winners now. Ooh, we're gonna have a good one. Okay, Jillian for Big Brother Canada Season 1. She almost lost. I'm gonna put her a low tier. And where do I put a low tier? If I was making a list, I put it between Steve and Josh. Here's why. I think the fact that she almost lost the game to Gary Levi, that's one. Two, she did everything that she basically when she had the HOHs, I know she probably won 2 or 3 of them, maybe more. She did everything that benefited Emmett's game. Like getting rid of Anil wasn't good for her game necessarily, but I think it worked out for her because she was able to win the comps and was aligned with the right people. So she got to the end and she did win the game. I mean, you cannot take credit from her there. So I give her credit, you know what I mean? But what I will say is I think Jillian, I put Steve. Okay, Steve next to okay, yeah, there we go. I give Jillian some credit, but I'm not gonna lie to you. The fact that she almost lost the game, she lost points with me on that one, so I gotta put her low tier. Now, John Part of season 2, it's my favorite Big Brother Canada season. I love season 2. I watched that season, wherever I can, when I have time. I'm gonna put him high tier, mid tier, not high tier. I'm gonna put him. Here we go. I'll put him right there, next to between Drew and Maggie. He didn't run the game because he played with Netta, but he played with He's similar to Drew in terms of he's a triple threat. He's somebody that can be part of lines, but not the main target. Great socially, strategically, physically, pretty solid, and was able to really cut his partner in the end, which was this case Netta, to win the game. Good job, and I have confidence in multiple seasons he come back. At least he'll get far, and I think he'll be his abilities to triple threats abilities will get him very far in the game. And almost any season he plays, he'll also get jury. So I'll give him credit there. Big Brother Canada season 3. Sarah. I'm gonna put her mid tier. So I'm gonna put her. I think he is fine. I think I kind of didn't like Big Brother Canada season 3. It had a lot of twists, which was annoying to me. But I put her mid tier. I think she's a mid tier winner. I think her ability to her social game is pretty good, strategically pretty good, physically she's okay. But I think I put her between Adam and she's kind of like similar game to Adam, but the fact that I think she executed better than Adam, and yes, she has some help from Twist, but she executed her game better than Adam, I think personally. So I would give her a little more credit there. I'm not gonna lie. Which can she execute what she did in a return? I'm not sure, but let's move on. Pack Brothers, Phil and Nick. I think Nick is a better player than Phil. Nick, I put him mid tier. Phil, I put him low tier, but we'll put them both in low tier. Below Steve. Why not? The twist was dumb. Yeah, they had a disadvantage because there's two of them playing. I'm not gonna lie, but you know what I mean. It was two of them playing, but that's still an advantage at the same time too, because they're always gonna play in every competition. And I don't know. I think Nick is a better player than Phil. Phil kind of, I just think them as players, I'm not feeling it. I think socially they was okay. Physically they're pretty good. Strategically they had some mishaps, and strategically they wasn't as good. Moving on, Baby Canada 5, Kevin Martin. Oh my God, Kevin Martin. I gotta put him. Do I put him high tier or the top of the mid tier? Because he kind of did what Casey kind of did and Ian kind of did. So I want to put it between Casey and Ian. The thing with Kevin Martin is that his team of Bruno and Cindy were early targets, and Netta too was early targets of the pre-jury. The first few members of jury. So losing all his allies that early in the jury stage is not great for his game. So I would put Kevin Martin. I'm a big fan of his game too, but I think Casey had more control of the game with that line, so I'll put him the end in the high tier. Is that good? I think that's good. Paris from Big Brother 6. I really did not like her season. Season was not one of my favorites, but she had a great social game. Strategy was good. Could win the comps when needed to. I'm gonna put her. And I don't think she's gonna be a target eater earlier in the game, so I'm gonna be fair to her and put her between Andy and Drew. Yeah, I'll put her between Andy and Drew. Cause I think the difference between Andy and Drew, Andy had to hide behind other people. And this is not a diss at Andy's game. Andy did a good job. Where I feel like Paris got what she wanted and didn't really have to hide behind people. I think there was like Hamza and Erica in that season was big figures, and then Kayla and Derek was good, comp B's, kind of like a similar, a Canadian version of Jackson and Holly, kind of, they was winning back to back, but Powers was able to have social bonds and wasn't a target. It's kind of like Drew a little bit, and she had Will, and then she had was it Maddie? Forget the person's name, but I think Pat does a good job socially and very good. She's a triple threat where she wants to be, but I can't put her any higher than John and Drew, unfortunately. Now this guy, oh my God, Dane. Dane is one of my favorite winners. They essentially created a Canadian brigade basically, and comes the pretty boys. You know, I'm doing a pretty boy right now. Like when they had a little, when they look at each other, they put like the pretty boy, what's it called? The pretty boy pose basically, where they put I think the index and the thumb on the chin. I think, yeah. So something like that. But yeah, Dane is one of my favorites. Pretty good. I'm gonna put him high tier too. Yeah, put him high tier, whatever. You, yeah, I'll leave him there because I think Nicole in multiple seasons proved that she's a pretty good player, and I'm gonna just put him there because he played one time and he had a lot of help from kind of like Hayden, similar to Hayden. He's a triple threat, and he was almost evicted. If if Anthony didn't change his mind, he could have been evicted at final five. So good play by Daniel saved himself, but when you are that big a threat and one of your alliance members is about to vote you out, I think that's a little knock issue. But other than that, dominant game. Was able to play socially, strategically, physically, triple threat indeed. So I give him credit there. And last but not least, Tyshawn. Yes, that's my peoples. Love his game. Love his win. I wish he kind of stood loyal to Jed a little bit longer, but taking Brady to end is just as good. I'll put him in top of the mid tier. Let's put him. This is tough. Yeah, let's put him. Let's put him right there. I think I got put him before Evil Dick. He played a better game than majority of the mid tier winners. I just think can he win out like Ian? I'm not as confident, but I think he won enough comps, and he's great socially, great strategically, and physically. Well, I mean, he's okay strategically. That's why I put him kind of in a mid tier instead of like high tier because I think I'll see him similar to Drew Daniel, who's part of Big Lions, and then was like not the first or second target. So I'm like, whatever you can. He'll be like the fourth target of the bigger lines. You know what I mean? If people are going after that lines. But then Tyshawn knew when to turn on Jed. I think it was too soon to turn on Jed, but it worked out for him. He wins, so give him credit there. Anyways, guys, this is the rankings of North American Big Brother winners. Big Brother U is the Big Brother Canada tier list. Let me know who would you put higher than another person. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And thank you guys for watching, and adios. See you guys.